Hey, Nation, we're with a special guest here, Dan Albaum. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great today, Harry.
Good. Well, quickly introduce yourself, and then I want to talk about your podcast. But you have a career in marketing and technology, amongst other things.
I do. I'm a professional marketer. I've been at this for more than 3 decades, and I've had the opportunity to work across a pretty wide span of technology markets, everything from wireless communications into the voice technologies at Cisco, ruggedized mobile communications, and then even in the fitness industry for a couple of years. And along the way, been able to consult and help companies around the world get more from their marketing to help with their growth.
Well, there we go. Well, you have a popular podcast that you had an MSP, Paul Green from the
That's
UK
right.
on, the Market Impact Insights. So, what's the idea? Because you get some pretty high profile guests, quite frankly.
Yeah, the idea was really bred from a philosophy that in business, it's all about making a positive impact every day. And to be able to bring in the voices of leaders and innovators from around the world that span a variety of different industries was really my goal, and really be able to share their learning either from a founder perspective in growing a company or a C-suite executive that's been part of achieving innovation and growth within a more established company. But the idea at the end of the day is to help others that are seeking that kind of success in business and making that positive impact every day.
Interesting. Well, talk to me about if you recall, the one with Paul Green. What was the nature of the conversation there?
Yeah, so what we were talking about is this tremendous opportunity for MSPs to actually become more effective at really marketing themselves, right, and being able to drive growth. And so what Paul's done is really been able to help MSPs understand what are some of the foundational principles in terms of establishing a brand, establishing some sense of differentiation, and creating engagement with the target audience. Understand who it is you're trying to communicate with. And then it's really all about more effective connection, right? To get that engagement and really to help grow your brand, help grow your business.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's a great guy. We had him on recently on one of our podcasts. So and by the way, I appreciate the introduction. Why don't you give us one more example of a podcast you've recently done, and then we'll drop a little hint to the audience.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, one of the things that I have really been focused on, Harry, in addition to a variety of topics around innovation, around driving healthy relationships inside of organizations, is this whole area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's something that companies are increasingly focused on because they realize having a more diverse workforce that is based on equity and inclusion can be a real differentiator. And so I had a recent guest on, Phyllis Turner Brim. Phyllis is the Deputy General Counsel at a small company you might be familiar with, HP. And Phyllis has a really unique background. She was a business executive earlier in her career, then shifted over to intellectual property law. But one of the things that Phyllis has been a champion for is bringing more diversity of voice into that IP legal area. And it's something that she's successfully been able to do in her various assignments there, and most recently at HP, previously at Starbucks. And it's something that for her, IP is not something that should be viewed as a separate silo. Your IP strategy needs to be integrated into your core business strategy, right? And that's something she's seen companies that get it are able to actually drive more innovation, more quality IP, but also relevant IP that actually helps drive them achieving their business objectives.
Well, very good. Okay, and why don't you tease the audience with what we'll talk about next quarter?
Well, I've had the gift of being able to talk with nearly 100 business leaders around the world on the Market Impact Insights podcast. Those are valuable learnings and perspectives. And so I've got a book project underway that's going to be bringing in some of the best of those conversations across a wide range of leadership topics. And I'm excited to share more about that when we get together next quarter. But it's going to be a good read, but I think a very actionable read for folks in terms of taking that learning and then applying it into their own opportunities.
Well, there we go. And what's the URL to find out more on the
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah. So Market Impact Insights, really easy to find. www.marketimpactnow.com/podcast.
Okay, now. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for the conversation, Harry.